Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the place to be on a Monday night. This week, coming to you for the Monday Night Lights, round 5 at Mid-Ohio. This challenging circuit that it is, scares a few away, I should say, but some good drivers certainly coming out tonight to put on a show for those of you who've joined us live on Top Split TV. Speaking of which, I'm your host, Alex McKellar, and joining me once again tonight is the good doctor, Dr. Alex John. What do you reckon we got looking forward to on track tonight?
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to a lot of action. We've seen the races here with plenty of side-to-side action. But looking at the entry list, a notable absence tonight is Fahim Antoniadis. So it's going to be interesting. We have got Zazo and Halliburton, though, coming into challenge Cantor and Otero Roman this week.
Absolutely correct. Just got Kane Halliburton on screen. Of course, he's another one of the top Skippy drivers going around. And, of course, in the field also, the number 1 plated car tonight is Mr. Borges Zazo, as you said. 6,500, just a tick under iRating for the number 1 driver here tonight. And I tell you what, AJ, they don't give away that sort of iRating for free.
No, absolutely not. I've seen Zazo drive, and I tell you, he can drive. So it's going to be interesting, very interesting tonight. But with the numbers down as well, it gives a few of those second split guys a chance to, shine potentially on the broadcast. Can anyone pull out a Timo Weimer and chuck it up there in the top 5 in their debut, perhaps in the top split? But it's also giving it a good chance to the likes of Snell, and Henderson, perhaps even Fiedler there as well. He's car number 8. They could all get up there and get a good result tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the 5 minutes remaining now in this solo qualifying sessions. It sounds like a lot of cars going around the track at once, but it's just these guys who we can only see one at a time, of course, because it is solo qualifying. Each one of these guys gets essentially their own track to race on, even though the server has them on all at the same time. Riding on board with the T-Mobile team's sole representative here tonight in Dennis Fiedler, as you say, and his first time lap so far has him in the top 5 as the guys start coming around. Top of the pop so far is the aforementioned Kane Halliburton that we were talking about previously, number 2 here tonight in terms of his rating. Enzo Cantor, the sole Team Movano representative this week, of course, with Fahim Antoniadis, as you mentioned, not making the trip down here this evening. Maybe he's a bit tuckered out, of course. Fahim and I caught up for the latest episode of the Top Split podcast. Check it out at thetopsplit.com. Fahim and I had a great conversation, including learning how to correctly pronounce his surname, AJ.
Yes, absolutely. John Smith, I think it was what I heard. But anyway, a pity that Antoniadis is not here tonight. I was looking forward to using the new pronunciation for his name. So a shame, but I'm sure that these other guys are going to give us plenty to look for.
Yeah, absolutely. Rafa Sola on track here, on camera, I should say, at the moment. Why don't we just stick up the quali standings? Best lap so far, as you said, from Kane Halliburton at a 35.2. That'll be tough to beat in qualifying at least. We've got about a 26-degree track temp here tonight, and that should make for good conditions overall. Not too much grip, not too slidey, but the guys, of course, would want more grip out on track. Got Ben Snell, lone Team Milo representative here tonight. He's car number 5, currently sitting in 8th. Has he managed to improve? Yes, he's up to P4 provisionally as the guys start rounding out their second of 2 laps, AJ.
Yeah, and Zazo just put in an absolute blinder. He's nearly cracked the 34s, and Halliburton there, he's finished his second lap, but he wasn't able to improve. And the same with Enzo, he's picked up a 1x on his second flyer, so he's going to be consigned to 3rd. And just looking, yeah, Snell is up to 4th, improving quite well, about 7/10 on his first lap. So P4, or he's been bumped down to P5. Otero Roman, of course, always fast in the skippies on a Monday Night Lights. So, it's a good-looking top 5, and I reckon all of these guys are going to have a good chance of winning. It's just whether or not they're going to be able to hang on to Zazo, I reckon.
Exactly. I had the pleasure of racing with Borja during the week Unfortunately, I may as well not have been. He was in a class and almost a race of his own, to be honest. Give it a couple of laps and he was away. I'd suggest Kane Halliburton. If not, Kane and Cantor tonight will give Zazo a really strong run for his money. You know, great to see Kevin Henderson there pip into the top 4 as well, just pipping Snell by the smallest of margins there. Just, what did he get it by? About 2/10, or not even 2400s. Yeah, all right. Why don't we sort it out completely and get the grid for round 5 of season 15 of Monday Night Lights from Mid Ohio Sports Car Course. P1 pole going to the Iberian Borja Zazo. Plenty of quality on pole here tonight. Will there be anyone to challenge him? P2 went to Kane Halliburton. And I just answered my own question when announcing that name. P3 went to Enzo Cantor, another one well and truly in the mix. The Italian Team Ivano racer looking to get amongst it early. P4 went to Kevin Henderson, leading the ANZ Chargers, has often been the case in recent times. P5, Ben Snell, Soul Team Milo driver, good qualification run for him. Rafa Sola from Iberia leading his challenge out tonight from P6. P7, Sean Carron, great to see him back in the top split. And I have to say, P7, probably his top qualifying result that I've seen, or at least I can recall so far. Dennis Fiedler returning for his second week after a long stay away from the track. New pedals too. How will they shape up tonight for him? Samuel Collins from ANZ also back in the top split tonight, joining us again from P9 off the grid. Francisco Javier Cano Rodriguez in P10 from Iberia. 11th went to Simon Skeen from ANZ. P12, Mark Jeffrey from ANZ, representing Team Venom, and taking up the final spot on the grid this evening, AJ.
Yeah, Tara Roman, it looks like he's had 2 1Xs there, so that's unlucky for him. He's going to have his work cut out for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
The race starts.
Oh, apologies, folks. I really should mute that thing. I thought it was done and dusted, but apparently I'll try to kill it from again as the guys look to take their spots on the grid. The lights come up, and of course we know the red lights mean revs are rising and the green light means go. How will this race shape up here tonight? Scaring some drivers away, but there's still some brave souls here looking to dive into turn 1, AJ.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's gotten nicely into line there. Of course, Cantor's not going to want to have a repeat of last week where he basically...
big incident at the back there, AJ. Roman suffering from that poor qualifying. Let's check out what happened here as they got away. Sorry to interrupt, AJ. Watching from the back here, with riding on board with Roman to begin with. As they come into turn 1, he's carrying so much pace. He's just run fair and square up the back of the Team Venom racer and Mark Jeffrey, who in turn I think has hit Mick Gray by the looks. And that's really ended the race for all 3 of them from the get-go.
Yeah, well, perhaps Roman not used to being so far back and not used to those checkups happening at turn 1, lap 1. So that's unlucky for them. Roman just ending the race of the other 2 guys. So that's a pity. But yeah, as I said, up the front, Cantor happily in 3rd place, not wanting to repeat last week where he basically dropped off from the leaders in the first lap with a very poor start, shall we say. But yeah, it's all stations at the moment. Everyone's looking pretty good. We've got nice single file racing going on, so everyone else has gotten through the first lap cleanly so far.
Yeah, dare I say Enzo's grown an extra leg this week as he flies around in P3 with the Team Milo driver Ben Snell having jumped up a position to get past Kevin Henderson. And we know Kevin loves his racing, and so it'll be interesting to see if he sits patiently and hangs on to this pack or whether or not he tries to progress through it, as we see Cantor now trailing on the back of Zazo. And it is, in fact, Kane Halliburton setting the pace in the early stages as the guys head up the front straight now towards the keyhole on the start of lap 2, AJ.
Yeah, Halliburton and Snell are both using the draft there to good effect on the back straight. So it's going to be interesting. I was thinking that, you know, if you have a driver of the caliber of these front guys, you should generally be able to get a move done around the outside or the inside down this back straight. So I think we'll be seeing a few changes for position throughout this one.
Absolutely. Speaking of change positions, they're 3 wide momentarily down the back straight on the approach to turn 4. Now, as you say, you can get it done both sides, in and out there as they run past China Beach. Now, very challenging through this section. A lot of undulation on this track. It's part of the big character of this track, as these guys led by Sean Caron, racing for Ps 9, 10, 11, try to get it done and actually get it sorted quite nice. As we jump up back to the front, we see Halliburton now with Zazo right on his tail, and Cantor and Snell now looking almost to have got a breakaway here. In fact, they are the magic 1 second mark ahead of Kevin Henderson, who's sitting there in P5 on the back of this pack. Can they get through the carousel here? Every US track on the known universe has a carousel, AJ, this one not being any exception, as the guys now cross the line to begin lap 3.
Yes, of course. I don't want you to forget that you are racing on an American track, so it has to have a bus stop or a carousel somewhere. But I'm having a look, and the guys are happily sliding the cars around. They're really getting the rears loose. As you say, on those undulations, it's so easy to lose rear end. As Cantor has a little bit, oh, he's getting very close to the back of Zazo. Has a little bit of a look, but not this time around. Perhaps he'll get him down this straight here, but you know, it's only lap 3. He's got to be thinking, where does he want to put himself towards the end of the race? I'd say you certainly want to be in probably P2 going into the last lap. I don't know if Enzo will be thinking that far ahead. We know he likes to lead from the front.
Zazo up the inside. Now Enzo sniffing around the rear. They're almost 2 by 2 through this very tricky section here through the S's now. And they've managed to, I'll tell you what, Halliburton defended that. We've got Mick Gray, who's already a lap down, looking to keep out of the way. Very canny racer, Mick Gray, as I always say. No doubt he'll make himself all but disappear as they head down through into Thunder Valley now. On the tail end of lap 3, these guys, of course, really fighting tooth and nail. I'm very surprised at, well, I shouldn't be. The quality of the driver up front has meant that there's been relatively no checkup as Mick Gray runs around the outside now, letting the guys through the carousel as tidily as he can. The guy's getting it all done, although he's got nowhere to go. What's he going to do? Yeah, Snell gets around the outside, and I tell you what, Mick couldn't disappear there, but now he's got to do it all again for the following lap as the leaders go through turn 1 on the start of lap 4, AJ.
Yeah, well, Ben Snell, I'd say he's not in a bad position here, because you see these guys up ahead, they're having to attack to defend, because, you know, if Zazo doesn't have a bit of a look at Halliburton, then you know that Cantor is going to be making his way through, and all that's doing is keeping Snell in play at the moment. Snell, of course, a very fast Aussie or ANZ driver. He has won a Monday Night Lights before, so you know, he could do it, but he's really up against some high caliber drivers here, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hang on and you know, keep his hat in the ring at the end of the race.
Yes, it's just a season that Snell has some luck other than bad and starts finishing some races and finishing up the pointy end of the season. As we hop on board this second battle pack now, that's really looks like it's catching Kevin Henderson at a rate of knots. This pack led by Fiedler with Collins and Solar directly behind them, looking to really get amongst it and looking very racy. Equally as racy as the front pack, AJ.
Yeah, no, it's looking great back in the pack, and you know, they're doing a really good job as well. We have to keep an eye on that, but the guys up front as well, they're keeping it nice. Enzo having a little bit of a wide run through the second to last corner, and Snell getting right up on the back of him now. But yeah, they've just got to settle into a rhythm now with at least, what, 11 laps to go, so they don't need to be too aggressive at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, Zazo runs wide using every bit of the track and more up front there, as you say, and these guys really thinking about strategy here, because there's not a great deal of passing opportunities here. Turn 2 that they're going through now, the keyhole, one of them. Heading down the back straight now, the lonely DRS sign as they're passing it. They can't see many Formula 1s running around here, but it's still there if they need it. But these guys are running down the back straight now through this slight kink at what they call turn 3, down into turn 4. And as you say, getting it done side by side is possible. Can I tell you, from a defensive point of view, I almost prefer the outside of turn 4 as they go through now past China Beach into turn 5 because look at that inside run. But then you've got to be careful because the inside run, oh, and there's netcode contact there. Zazo heading for the wall on the outside. Let's go and see what happened to Zazo right there, although I think we probably caught it almost. As the guys headed down the back straight, I've probably gone back a bit too far there, folks. Apologies for that. Running down the back straight. It's really all gets set up. We're talking about it just as they ran through. This run into turn 4 here, it looked like Zazo was setting up on the outside to go round the outside of Halliburton and look to get it done at turn 5 the following there. But as they come through here, 2x2, plenty of space. Good bit of rotation from Halliburton, though, sees him into the side here as they approach turn 6. And look at that. There's 2 tyre widths between them. That's very unlucky and a very unfortunate part of internet racing, AJ.
Yeah, the netcode monster catching Zazo out there. You know, that is really unfortunate. I would have tipped Zazo or backed him in for the win tonight. And it's going to make a lot of our Spanish viewers, I think, very sad. But that is iRacing and internet racing, so anything can happen, and that often does, unfortunately. But yes, Halliburton, I would have to say, did leave him enough room. So just an unfortunate racing incident there.
Yeah, it was. The quality of the guys showing out there with plenty of racing room given, but unfortunately, as is the way of things sometimes, the internet jumps up and bites, and the car position on the track, as we see Halliburton now putting all sorts of pressure over the back of Cantu, who made a lovely move into turn 4. These guys getting it sorted out. Yeah, the internet jumping up and catching them out unexpectedly. No fault of the drivers there, just the way the world of internet racing, as we say. Now we've got a second pack of racers here, led by Kevin Henderson, who has in fact been caught by that trailing pack led by Fiedler, with Collins and Solar sitting right in behind, with Solar now leading the Iberian charge, if I'm not mistaken, in P7. Unusual. We've had a few guys, our Iberian colleagues, not have the best race tonight, and perhaps a track that they'd like to forget, but unfortunate. But Solar still representing strongly, with Fiedler now putting pressure all over the back of Henderson. What's your thought processes here, AJ? Do you want to lead the guy you've just caught by a couple of seconds, or do you want to sit in behind him and take your chances?
Yeah, well, for Fiedler, I'd say he'd want to attack because he's going to have Collins. He's having a bit of a look, actually, Collins on Fiedler now. So, yeah, as I said before, attack is probably the best form of defence. And at the rate that they caught Henderson, I'm surprised. Henderson usually quite a quick ANZ driver, but yeah, he's just slipped back into the grips of these guys. So, you know, I wouldn't want to chance it being Fiedler. I'd want to try and get past Henderson, but yeah, as I say that, Collins pulls out, and he's nearly had a look up the inside of Henderson there as well. But that's a beautiful move on Fiedler by Collins through turn number 4.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to get it done on both of them through the S's there, but did not get it done, but certainly got the move on Fiedler done, who left plenty of room now as they come up on the approach to Thunder Valley. Now, lovely challenging corner here up over the rise. Oh, Henderson, he's hung on to it. Looked like he was going off into next week via the grass there, but managed to hang on to it. Great car control in the end there to save that one. But he has got an angry swarm behind him looking to take. Look at Collins, nose up the inside now. Having a look through the carousel now on the tail end of lap 7 as the guys begin the second half of this race. Jumping back up front, we have Cantor still leading from the front. There's a tautology for you there, folks. Halliburton and Snell trailing in behind. Cantor taking the defensive line, but swinging back out when he realises there's little or no threat on the run into the keyhole for the starting portion, at least, of lap 8, AJ.
Yeah, well, I'd also be interested to know whether Halliburton picked up any damage. I had a look at his car from the reverse angle, and I can't see any wing damage or really...
contact!
Oh, no,
there'll be damage
Halliburton.
now. There'll be damage now as wheel to wheel down the front straight. That's not something you see every day. Let's go grab another look at that. We might even see if we can't hop on board. No, I want the front suspension on the other side, please. What happens here, folks? Who comes over? It looks like Cantor coming over more than Halliburton was expecting. You want to run diagonals on that kink in the straight. Halliburton there correcting, but not sure if he'll get away scot-free from that, AJ.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And, well, yeah, I don't know. I think that's going to be another racing incident. Halliburton obviously wanting to squeeze Cantor down into turn 4. But, was he far enough ahead of Cantor to be, really arguing as the king of the track there? I think Cantor, it was within his rights to expect that Halliburton would track out there. So interesting one, but Halliburton has seemed to have been able to hold on there. He's still on the back of Snell, so who knows? A little bit of wing damage perhaps, and that's it, and he'll be back in the fight.
Yeah, Halliburton seems to have got away with a miracle there. He's right back on the tail now, just the 3/10. Oh, breaks very, very deep there, but doesn't seem to have compromised his line too much, or his run out, I should say. Can I tell you, I had the exact same situation that befell Halliburton and Cantor on that last lap with that contact in the race. One of the races I did this week here. I was on the inside per Cantor, moved slightly over to the right, and I tell you, the guy outside me, he was very gentlemanly after the race. We had a good conversation, actually. Pulled over in a similar fashion. Instead of running straight like Halliburton did, he actually turned a little bit unintentionally inwards, and we kind of came together in a V almost. I was the unfortunate one who came off quite second best out of that, but we both agreed that it was just a racing incident. But I was expecting him to be further out, as perhaps Halliburton was in that situation. And then, as Snell gets the rear quite loose there. And then he turned in a bit more than he was expecting to. And he wasn't even that far over, to be honest. He was already in centre track. So certainly does happen. And it's comforting for me to know it can happen to the best in the world at the same time. Jumping back to that second pack that we have, led by Kevin Henderson still. Looks like Fiedler's got back through on Collins. And in fact, Solar is now through on Collins as well, as those guys looking to hopefully hang on to try and grab the remaining positions in the top 5, as Fiedler looking to race very smartly behind Henderson there and get out to a gap and break the draft if you can, AJ.
Yeah, and Solar and Collins just a little bit of a gap now to Fiedler. Yeah, I was having a watch of those guys just while you're talking there, and Collins and Solar, they were having an absolute epic scrap into turn 4 and all throughout the S's. Solar's got it done, so something for the Iberian crowd to cheer about. We could see Solar get up for a top 5 here if he's able to catch back up to Fiedler and Henderson, put a few moves on.
Yeah, absolutely. He looks like it's an 8.5 tenths gap, and the flowing nature of this track, I should say, it surprised me that there hasn't been more checking up. It's been nice and flowing, even in the packs though. The guys in front, unlike what we saw at Interlagos, a pack of 5 or 6 cars would tend to be much slower than a solo drive. And we saw gaps bridged left, right and centre last week, but this week it's once again Henderson running and using wide and using every bit of the track, perhaps a bit more safety margin in that lap. It hasn't really been holding guys up. As we jump back up to the front now, we have Team Milo sandwiched by international drivers in Cantor and Halliburton, with Snell now trying desperately to hang on and defend and attack at the same time with 2 world-class drivers. He's in good company, AJ.
Yeah, it's getting quite exciting here at the front. Going through that last carousel, I was thinking that Snell was nearly going to run up the... Oh, Snell has a little bit of a exploration onto the grass there, but these guys are getting so close on the brakes. I'm just hitting the panic brake under my desk right now every time I see these guys go into a braking zone. But Halliburton seems content to just sit there in 3rd place at the moment. He's only got a couple of laps left to go, so he's going to have to get a wriggle on and get past Snell here at some point if he wants to have a go at a bit of retribution perhaps at Cantor.
Yeah, look, 4.5 remaining as Halliburton shows the nose up the inside of turn 4 there, but content to sit there just for the moment. I tell you, I was watching through the pointy end of the keyhole there around that hairpin at turn 2. The guy's taking beautiful lines, grabbing the apex, curving just as you would want to at a corner like that. Double apexing wide on the first and tight on the second. Great driving lines. Again, You see the likes of Snell there grabbing beautiful lines, using all of the track width and showing what you need to do to be quick around a track like this, AJ.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm just wondering, like, they've only got, what, 4 laps to go. Something's got to give here. Enzo getting a little bit of a wiggle on. Not the victory wiggle yet, but a little bit of wiggle on around the carousel. Snell is so close now. I'm just wondering whether Snell's going to want to make a move sooner rather than later to try and defend from Halliburton, or whether he's just content to sit there in P2.
Yeah, it could be. I'd suggest that he's having a great race. He started the season off gangbusters. I know I think he had an incident in the first week, but certainly his racing last week was a good, solid result. And then today, taking advantage of what is a low participation week and to put on a great show. We have got a strength of field here tonight for those of you playing at home, just over 3,100, which is well inside the top 5 for the week. The guys over in the US killing it at the moment with 4K softs, which is tough to beat for us down here, particularly on a track like this, as we see Halliburton make a very familiar move there up the inside of turn 4. Snell leaving plenty of room, perhaps witnessing the net codes that we've seen earlier tonight and fearing for the worst. But he's still got time now with the balance of 4 laps remaining, 3.3 now. There'll be 3 to go as they cross the line. Coming now on the approach up and over into Thunder Valley under the Westfield Insurance sign now. These guys putting on a great show, AJ.
Yeah, and having a look back at that second chasing pack, shall we call them now, we've got Sean Carron, who's also come and joined the party. He's put on a good move on Collins, and he's now actually looking to make a move on Sulla perhaps for this next lap. Plenty of good racing going on back down there as well.
Yeah, good points on offer for Sean Carron here tonight, folks.
Yeah, Carron,
the wiggle.
He's sideways again.
They've got 3 wide unintentionally as we see who is that Solar bouncing through the final corner. They've managed to make it work. Carron there perhaps getting loose in response to Collins and Solar having issues in front, but Solar now dropping down to P8 as Collins probably giving up on all hope of catching Henderson and Fiedler in front as they run up with just about 2.5 laps to go as Henderson now leads Fiedler once again through the keyhole, AJ.
Yeah, and you saw there with the Carron, he got a little bit loose, and that overheated those rear tyres, and once that happens, it's just so hard to get the grip back. But looking up front, Halliburton making a move on Enzo around the outside of turn 4. He's managed to just hang on. He nearly ran off onto the grass too deep, and Canner's been able to defend that position through now. He takes the lead through the S's, so is that a little something to show what's to come later on? A little bit of a dress rehearsal for Halliburton, I'd say. Not able to get it done.
Oh, he's in the rear of him. I tell you what, I saw the rear of Enzo's car getting loose there. Gentlemanly redress there by Halliburton there as the rear of Enzo's car got a little bit loose, and we saw Halliburton really carrying the speed and not able to pull it up in time, but no harm, no foul by the looks. Neither of them looking to carry any damage. Tell you what are these cars made of? Solid steel here tonight, or steel's pretty solid, I suppose, but they look to be a little less flimsy than the tinfoil that we usually see each week, AJ.
Yeah, perhaps a new damage model iRacing was given us without telling us. Who knows? But I bet Snell is going to be absolutely kicking himself there. He was just about handed P1 on a silver platter there, but just unable to capitalise, being balked by the 2 cars ahead.
I'll tell you what, we've lost Fiedler as well. He is miles back down in P6. I don't know what happened to Fiedler there, but he's back with Solar, who's had quite an eventful race, leaving Henderson all on his Pat Malone there in P4, with Collins now similarly driving solo in P5, which really leaves us with that hotly contested battle up front as we see once again Halliburton poking the nose up the inside of turn 4 now, running past China Beach now, through turn 5, no defence required this time. These guys using every bit of the track and more, as we see just in the background Snell for Team Milo just sitting there patiently, although I don't know how long the patience has to last or is going to last, because as they cross the line this time round, the surrender flag, the white flag, will be shown as Snell. I don't know, is he trying too hard or is he just struggling to keep up as these guys turn up the wick, AJ?
Yeah, well, well, the two guys ahead of him definitely got to have damage. So Snell, you'd think, would have a nice straight car to put his best foot forward. But the pace of these two guys ahead is it's quite hot. So whether Snell, he just looks like he's too far back off the rear of these guys. So I say he's going to be consigned to P3. It's going to be out of Halliburton and Cantor to fight it out for the win.
Halliburton right up the tail of Enzo's exhaust pipe there as we start the final lap this time round. As you say, it looks like Snell's doing everything he can to hang on. Half a second now as Halliburton pokes the nose up the inside. Enzo Cantor leaving plenty of room, but compromised line on the exit potentially as Halliburton took the tight entry, tight on both apexes there of that final run through the hairpin. Now Cantor taking the very defensive line early up the inside on the approach to turn 4 now. Moving out wide again, the two of them. Have they learnt that lesson? Cantor wanting to open up the corner at turn 4 as much as he can. He'll be compromised now through turn 4. Oh, netcode again. Snell, he's made it through. The two international drivers parting company with the track and half their cars by the looks. It's Netco, the winner on the night, with Snell actually coming through, looking to take the chocolates now. And we might have a look at that in the post-race now as we want to see this Team Milo driver come and take his second win. I don't think he got through unscathed. That rear wing looking like it's taken a bit of a beating now as he comes through the carousel. We won't see an Enzo wiggle, but we know Mr. Snell likes his drifting as he comes through the carousel for the final time. Will he cross the line sideways, AJ? I don't know. But the second victory, he's going to do everything he can to cross sideways, but he's hung on to it for a famous Team Milo victory as the sideways action comes through and some broken cars following in behind him from our international competitors there, AJ.
Yeah, how was that? Plenty of action. Snell, we'd like to say he won that on his merits, but really it was a bit of a Bradbury. Halliburton and Cantor both getting hooked up there. I think we'll have to have another look at that incident, Alex. On first glances, I feel like Cantor was just trying to stamp his authority on that corner and close the door. A little bit of netcode though didn't allow that to happen.
Yeah, I'm just going to see if I can't grab the replay now. The guys were heading down the back straight as we saw. Cantor moving over to open up the track again as we saw. They ran through turn 4 okay, the tightening right-hander, and then swung around past China Beach into turn 5 now. And look at that. Yeah, look, there's a good car width there. Let me just go back a little bit there. See if we can't grab camera there. Yeah, gyro, give us a good look. Moving on now, I want Halliburton. Okay, let's run really slow through this one, folks. And you'll be able to see firsthand just the distance between these cars. Look at that. Nowhere near him. And then it all comes unstuck. These guys turning around. Let's hop on board our winner, Snell, to see how he got through. Look at this. The sea's just opening up. And I think, oh, that nose of the red and black Mivano car just catching the tail end. We can see the damage already done as the stricken international contingent of Cantor and Halliburton flying destitute in the background there. Tragedy once again as internet racing takes its toll, AJ. I don't know what to say. Perhaps these guys just can't afford to race so closely behind each other on this track.
No, it's a really hard one. I can tell you there's certainly plenty of opinions flying in the in-game chat, but yeah, look, just looking from Halliburton's cockpit, he nearly looked like he was clear of Enzo, but yeah, perhaps just running in a little bit too hot. Of course, Enzo trying to come across and take that apex and ensure his victory, but yeah, it's an ugly one. I'm sure we're going to hear about it in some post-race interviews.
Yeah, potentially. I'll tell you what, I was tempted to bring up the in-game chat there for a moment, but I thought it might be strike number 2 on my PG rating, so I did it in the end. Let me jump back to the start of the race so that we get some good stuff going in the background while we interview our sole race participant at the moment. Let me just slow that picture down a bit. Apologies, folk, while I get myself sorted. Why don't we bring up our race winner in Mr. Ben Snell? Let him regale us with the songs and stories of his now famous victory, Mr. Ben Snell. Well, patience has paid off, mate. We thought you were dropping off there for a bit towards the tail end of that race, but I can see now it was all part of your master plan to let the two blokes out front take each other out and just skate through for the Bradbury-esque victory, mate. Tell us all about
I'm calling it supreme tactics. If you talk to Cheryl and the lads, I called it.
it.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
We got an Aussie server farm for the race, so they all had like 400 plus ping. So as soon as they started getting anywhere near each other, there was just contact everywhere, and that's what lost Borgia. And there was 2 or 3 contacts between Enzo and Kane. So as soon as Kane came back past me, I just lifted and went, "You guys fight, and I'll pass you when you crash." And that's what happened.
Yeah, mate, that's probably what we saw play out on the cameras. Actually, we wondered if potentially you were either dropping off, although you'd held on to them comfortably all race, to be fair, or waiting for the action to unfold. Interesting that the Australian server got landed tonight. I'm not sure if iRacing changed that algorithm that they use to determine where we race, but certainly it's not often we get on the Aussie server. So looks like it's played into the home ground advantage has played into your hands tonight, mate. That's, I think, your second victory in a Monday Night Lights event, and certainly continuing on what looks to be shaping up to be a decent season for you, mate.
Don't jinx me yet, please.
Nah, mate. Look, you raced well to be in a position there at the end. You got to be in it to win it, as they say, and you've certainly done that, done everything you could possibly do, including a masterstroke of sit back strategy to take it out, mate. So congratulations on the win. Number 2 for you, if I'm not mistaken, and anyone you'd like to sing praises for or shout out to before we let you go, mate.
Of course, you guys for doing the broadcast. Also with the podcast as well. I listened to that while I was at work today. It's good to hear the insights of guys like Fahim and stuff like that. I actually used the lifting off the brakes less aggressively technique tonight as that I picked up during that podcast. So it actually helped out a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Going to tell you, it was something I said to him at the time that there were the first one about using all the track, which there's a few of you tonight who were doing exceptionally well at, I have to say, just from my own observations. But then the other 2 were things that I said to him that would take away and consider. But there you go, folks. In the absence of Mr. Antoniadis, his wise words are still coming into play tonight. So make sure you check out that podcast, episode 16 with Fahim Antoniadis. It's up on the topsplit.com at the moment. Well, thank you once again, Ben. I look forward to your continued success in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much.
There you go, AJ. We always said the podcast was about having a bit of fun, but also talking and learning from the words of the wise in some of our community as well. Great to see that it had an effect on tonight's racing.
Yeah, Antoniadis may be kicking himself when he comes back next week. Hopefully, he's giving away all of his trade secrets, obviously. So the rest of the field's going to be stronger for it.
Yeah, potentially. But, in my conversation with him and judging from what we've seen and spoken to him after races as well, I'm sure he'd be happy to have that benefit passed on, even if nothing else, to have a more competitive race for himself. So tip my hat to Mr. Antoniadis, and we look forward to seeing him hopefully in the coming weeks. But for now, let's bring up our third place getter in Mr. Enzo Cantor, Team Mivano's own solo Team Mivano driver here tonight. Enzo, Australian server farm, netcode all over the place, drama between international drivers with the Aussie skipping through for the win, mate. Tell us, how did you, well, we know how you fared, mate. There was plenty of drama out on track tonight.
Hi guys. Well, I have to calm down a bit, but I think you saw what happened today. So I think Kane doesn't know how to drive, because I first saw him rear-end Borja and push him out of the race, and then he did the same move over me for 3 times. I saved the car 2 times. The third one, I was hit by an I say a kick from behind, and it was impossible to race in that way. So I think he was frustrated because he wasn't able to be in front and to pass in a better way. And the way he knows is to push people from behind and put them out of the race. I don't know if I'm malicious, but I'm sure it will be protested after this race, because you cannot rear-end 4 times other people without a protest.
Yeah, well, certainly we caught one incident on camera where he tapped in the rear and redressed to his credit, but certainly, if not the net code, certainly some of the talk in the chat as well has been that there was invariably going to be contact between drivers in certain incidents anyway. So, look, I know netcode's a part of internet racing, but so is control and maintaining a safe distance between cars, but perhaps made more challenging tonight by the international drivers facing the latency that often the Aussie New Zealand club guys do as well. Certainly didn't help, but it's a tough track to get by, and there's only a couple of those opportunities, and certainly with the undulations in the track, it's challenging to make it through, mate. But certainly I hope that we see you back again in the coming weeks, and the interviews can put as big a smile on my face as the one we did last week, mate. I'm still smiling. So hopefully you'll have a big smile on your face next week when you join us. And before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you can give a shout out to?
Well, let me say only one thing finally, because in my long career, I think it's never happened that only one driver ran me 3 times in a race. And the problem is that if you can do a mistake one time, you can do a mistake 2 times, but after 2 times you ran another person, you have to be more careful. So you can be excused one time or two, but 3 or 4, I think not. And there is no net code that can excuse you, because if the first 2 are net codes, there is net code, and you have to be far enough to avoid other incidents. So yeah, I can smile because this is a game, and surely life is more important than a game. But I didn't expect that from a 5,000 iRacing driver like Kane Aliburton. So I don't know. Finally, congratulations to Ben, because he won the race. He deserved it, and this is the only good thing for today race. And finally, thank you for giving me the chance to say thanks to my team Ivano, my team manager Fabio Mantellini, all my friends, all other people here, and you too.
Thanks, Enzo, mate. Always a pleasure to have you in the booth, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.
See ya next week.
There you go. AJ is another thing we learned in the podcast this week, talking with Enzo Cantor's teammate, Fahim Antoinides, is that he's a passionate, fiery man, and we certainly found out that again tonight with him being a pretty straight shooter. I've known Enzo to come in and apologise when he's felt he was in the wrong or made a mistake, and equally, call out folks when he's felt he's been wronged.
Yeah, no, definitely fiery customer. Yeah, to be fair, three times in a race, and Zazo as well. Yeah, Kane certainly wasn't making friends out there. But yeah, I feel like perhaps the anger coming more from the build-up of being hit multiple times. The last one, as I saw it, as a racer, I would do exactly the same thing as Enzo. He was trying to capitalize on that good run he had around the inside of turn 4 so that he could shut the door into turn 5. Halliburton obviously having the poorer run around the outside. So, I'd really, I know there's netcode, I know Halliburton, you could argue he shouldn't have put his nose up there, but then you could also argue that maybe there could have been a little bit more room left there. But certainly, a couple of taps, it's definitely going to aggravate any driver. So, that's part of racing. And when you're racing with 400 ping, as the Europeans have been tonight, yeah, it's a little bit of what you've got to expect with the netcode.
It's a tough ask, that sort of latency, but certainly has to play into your race strategy at times too. But as to where the fault lies in these incidents, I'm sure the opinions will vary depending on which cockpit you're sitting in. The guys will no doubt sort it out amongst themselves in conversations on and offline. But certainly, ultimately, the show was enough to get excited about. And I enjoyed watching the racing. Good couple of packs deciding the results here tonight. But that is about... Oh, did I even run through the results? I don't think I did. I got caught up in everything. So let's just finish out with the results that I should have done about half an hour ago. Finishing on top of the pops, of course, was Team Milo's own Ben Snell from the ANZ Club. Been a while since we've had ANZ on top of the podium. Great to see it there from Mr. Snell. Kane Halliburton in P2 from UK&I. Mixed feelings about his race tonight. I'm sure those include his own. P3 went to Enzo Cantor from Team Mivano, representing Italy at the same time. Regular down here and regular on the podium as well. Worse results could have been had based on the contact that occurred here tonight. P4 went to Kevin Henderson, who ran a solid race, taking his time, qualified in fourth, patiently working his way to maintain that position. Samuel Collins up 4 positions. Also for ANZ, they're rounding out the top 5. Dennis Fiedler on another successful return tonight to Monday Night Lights racing in P6 for Team Ovaltine. Simon Skeen in P7 from ANZ. Don't see too much of Simon on an M&L race. Great to see him inside the top 10. Rafa Sola from Iberia leading the Iberian charge tonight with some unfortunate stories to tell, no doubt. P9 went to Francisco Javier Cano Rodriguez also from Iberia. Had a rough night out by the looks as well, with Sean Caron returning to the top split tonight for his M&L challenge for season 15. Down a few spots. Looked like he was on for a decent result, but unable to capitalise. Cristobal Otero Roman from Iberia up 3 spots after, that lap 1, turn 1 incident, unfortunately compounding his poor qualification tonight. Mark Jeffrey for Team Venom Racing here and ANZ suffering at that point as well, all the way down in P12, but getting a sorely sought after run in the top split and picking up some points in the final point scoring position for M&L. P13 went to Borja Zazo, who got caught up in that netcode incident we saw earlier. Great to see Borja out on track with us here tonight. Very disappointing result, I'm sure. Mick Gray, similarly, great to see him back in the top split, but rounding out our field tonight as the server connection falls away from us in a timely fashion. Well, folks, that will about do us here tonight. AJ, will we see you on track this week in the OSR F3 race?
Yes, we will. And also, I think we've got the first round of, I can't remember the name of the league, but we've got a GTE Sprint Series starting up on Wednesday night. So could very well see me out on track at least, mixing it up around Brands Hatch, I think it is, in a Ferrari 488 GTE.
Lovely, it is, mate. You'll be streaming those races. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'll be on Twitch AJ_77 for both those races. No doubt you will be as well, Alex.
Yeah, if you want to see the Top Split Racing team driver who can drive, tune in there. Otherwise, check out me on Top Split TV over at Twitch as well. Both of us will be live for that F3. Been enjoying that F3 series a lot. But for now, make sure you check out the podcast at thetopsplit.com with Fahim Antoniadis. Spoke about that several times tonight. Also, of course, join us back here next week for the best place to be on a Monday night for skipping action. But for now, I have been your host, Alex McKellar, and on behalf of my co-host, Dr. Alex John, thank you very much for joining us here on track and in the stream, and we look forward to your company again